It's finally happened. The Inside Line F1 podcast has got the wings, and Red Bull gave it to us. What a lovely morning. The best Sunday morning ever in my life. Yes, of course, whenever I see a Formula One car, it's a brilliant Sunday morning. But Kunal, this probably is one of the biggest days in the history of our podcast.
Absolutely, and let me add to it.
Mhm.
When you see a Formula One car with a V8 engine,
Oh.
it just becomes an even more important Sunday of our lives.
It's like the Diwali crackers, isn't it? Like it's loud, it's colorful, and you enjoy it.
And it crackles.
Woo, 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 woo. Hyderabad became the fastest city this morning because it hosted the Red Bull F1 show run. David Coulthard was here, and we had a great gala time with him a day before when we actually did the press conference with him. Then later I got the opportunity of hosting the F1 show run on the Necklace Road and just besides the lake. It was so beautiful, so picturesque.
It was awesome, and I'm all of envy, Rishi. But I'll tell you what.
What?
I absolutely loved the conversation that the three of us had. And David himself agreed that Formula One needs a lot of humor. So we are actually somewhere, in the positive side of the demand-supply gap.
Yes, and coming from India, well, it does put us in good light. And let's not forget, Formula One also needs some fun, some light moments. We had that with David, and we'd like for you to listen to it.
Absolutely. Let's not waste more time because the fans have tuned in for two different reasons. The first, or I may not know if it's the first is to hear David Coulthard debut on the Inside Line F1 podcast.
Woohoo!
And the second is to hear the V8 fire up, which you and I were absolutely lucky to be a part of.
Here we go.
Be gentle with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
2 against 1.
But you can feel free to add all the jokes that you think of
Okay.
because we are all about humor. So
Okay.
we look forward to those.
We're going to keep it light, very Formula One based, a little more technical than the others are.
Okay.
Because we are catering to a global audience.
Okay.
All right, let's begin. You have some appetite for this. I'm so impressed.
How many years of doing PR work for you?
Well, I guess professionally it would only really have started when I was in Formula One '94. But the reality is, when you come up through lower formula karting and everything, you're always having to either talk to your dad as a sponsor or other sponsors or your granny or something. So, you have to learn, and every sportsman has their story. It's like fisherman stories, isn't it? The fish that got away.
Right.
Racing drivers, and you'll know from your BMW time, you've got excuses as to why you didn't win every race. Or maybe you were lucky. Did you win every race?
I didn't.
Yeah,
In
well-
fact, which is something that we're going to carry on into the podcast as well. But Rishi, on to you. Come.
We've seen you recently, interviewing all kinds of drivers and mechanics and even the owners and so on. When is the last time you got interviewed now? Because you've gone on the other side of Formula One.
Well, because of the things I do with Red Bull, with the running show cars, then I am then still being reminded of being interviewed. But it does feel normal now for me to be on the other side asking the questions. I've got to say that it wasn't always the most exciting as a driver on a Thursday to be asked, what's your expectations for the weekend? Because I don't have crystal balls, it's like, how can you see into the future? Your expectation is that you have a great weekend, but you have to answer the same question over and over.
What was your funniest question that somebody's ever asked you then over all these years of PR?
I don't think I was ever really asked a funny question. I think I try to give some funny answers sometimes, but I'm not sure if it's appropriate to give you an example on your blog. It's probably a family thing. So I'll move on.
Let's do it.
Keep it bold.
I'll tell you when we stop recording.
I tell you what we've been asked. We've been asked, for the people who absolutely don't understand, is Formula One a left-hand drive?
Well, I'll tell you actually, Ayrton Senna's manager from IMG, who knew nothing about Formula One when he first went to a test at Silverstone, he walked to the front of the McLaren car and asked how they fitted the engine in the front. He didn't realise it was in the back. So, a lot of people don't know anything about Formula One.
Yes, yeah, that's impressive. But we have a fan called Jamie who asked us, and this is a little below the belt, but you never won a world championship, and he believes number 13 was lucky for you. So we'll come to that. But why do you believe you didn't win a world championship? Was it you? Was it luck? Was it Häkkinen? Or was it team orders at McLaren?
No, I think in the end they were, Michael and Mika were just a bit stronger. They were just better, and I don't think there's any shame in acknowledging that sometimes you have someone who's better at doing something than you are. I think that I had reasonable success in Formula One, and I was able to win some races and what have you, but I feel no shame in coming up short. Of course, I would have loved to have won, but I would rather finish second in an era where you've got the best driver than win a championship in a year that was seen as being a bit weak.
Yes. Yes.
David, very, very important Grand Prix is the Australian Grand Prix where you and Mika had a bet, is what is being said. Whosoever goes into the first corner first wins the race. Then you came in the lead. Then you let him through. Everybody wants to know what happened on the radio. And we'd like to know as well.
Well, we didn't have a bet. We had an agreement because the team, we had been very unreliable in winter testing. We'd never done a Grand Prix prior to Melbourne. And the team knew that we had a quick car. So it was a way of trying to mean that we didn't push each other 100%. Otherwise the car would break. So Mika suggested doing it on qualifying, but I knew he was a better qualifier, so I said, well, look, it should be after the first corner. And unfortunately, he got to the first corner first, and then when he made a mistake and pitted again and ended up behind me, the team obviously came on and asked me to let him pass. So I did, and I did it on the start-finish straight. And I remember Ron Dennis he said, why didn't you do it more subtly so people didn't know? And I was like, what? To add insult to injury, make it look like I ran off the circuit. So
Oh, very insightful, I must say.
yeah.
You know, but you were competing with Mika and Michael at the same time. And sometimes, during the season, but that maybe these two are now fighting for the championship and I'm not. And, it can be hurtful at times. But you want to win every world championship that you enter. What is your advice to Nico Rosberg right now?
The only thing Nico has to do is to beat Lewis. If he beats Lewis, then the rest will take care of itself. But if he's not beating him, then the game is over. It's as simple as that. And in the same way, all I needed to do was to beat Mika. Easy to say, difficult to do. So, it's in Lewis's in Nico's hands. We know he's got the speed, we know he's got the car. He just needs to harness it consistently enough to be in front of Lewis.
There was a little edge that Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, since you've been in that position, like you said.
Lewis has that racer's edge. He's a very good wheel-to-wheel racer. He's very instinctive, and I think that's what makes him very difficult to beat.
So moving on to the complex hybrid formula that we see, and there's the token system, which trust me, I still haven't got ranks to. But would you be interested in driving the V8 tomorrow or the V6s today?
My favourite was the V10s.
Okay.
Because the V8s were quite peaky in their torque, so you had to rev the engine a lot to get performance. Where the V10s, you could actually drive the car off the corner a bit better. I did drive the hybrid engine car last year. I drove the Williams in a feature for BBC.
Okay.
So it's a very different way of getting the power because you're using the electrical power straight away. So you have a lot of torque instantly, which gives you traction problems. So you have to use the gear. You have to fuel save. We never fuel saved. We just went as fast as we could and for as long as we could. So it's a different way of Grand Prix racing. But one thing's absolutely for sure, the best drivers will still exploit the regulations to the maximum.
So if there was a team and there was a teammate you could choose in 2015, which one would it be? And you can't tell me Red Bull Racing.
From the drivers?
From the current team and drivers.
Well, it depends. The driver I know for the longest is probably Jenson Button. But someone that I've been super impressed with and the way he's brought a fresh energy to Formula One is Daniel Ricciardo. He really did something special last year, and I believe he will continue to do special things in the future.
Perfect.
David, these cars that you see these days, they're said to be very complex in terms of getting them fitted together, etc. But back in the day when you were in F1, when a youngster joined in F1, he really struggled to come in terms with the car. These days, rookies just get into the car and they're in the points straight away. Is it that these cars are relatively easier to drive, or are the simulators making life easy?
Well, if you're a simulator developer, you're going to say it's because of the simulators. But what you can't simulate is the physical movement or the fear of driving a proper racing car. So the simulator, of course, has its place. Of course, it helps, but it will not. You will not make a Lewis Hamilton or Fernando Alonso or whoever your favourite driver is. You will not make him on a simulator. He still needs to get out on track. I think the cars are slower today than they were in 2004, and the faster they are, the more physical they are, because you're pulling more G-force in the corners. So physically the cars are a bit easier to drive. They're still tough, but talking to the
Relative.
drivers, they say they're a bit easier to drive. Now, when I say easier, I mean physically. I don't mean that a bad driver will suddenly win. A good driver is still a good driver. So it's just different. It's a different way of exploiting the technology today.
So the next one is a very interesting question about a lot of research we did about you. So in our view, you're one of the only drivers we know who survived a Formula One car crash and a plane crash. So have you taken some crash courses on crashing? Is there something that, is there a secret?
I've taken crash courses on survival. That's
Okay.
the most important thing. Because if you race, you
Did
will
you ever
crash.
train Pastor Maldonado then?
Pastor, he's a lovely guy.
Yes.
And he's got speed. He won the Spanish Grand Prix. But he does seem
And
to
he
find
didn't get
himself.
10 races, no points after that. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it is a bit difficult to understand why he seems to be at the scene of a lot of accidents. But he was unfortunate in Melbourne. He got clipped and spun around. So let's give him a bit more time and see what he does.
But you know, given your crash lessons that you've had, you're probably eligible for an Indian driver's license. Would you drive on the Indian roads?
I'm very comfortable being driven. I need to be going.
We believe you came here on a scooter because of traffic today. Is that true or false?
If you would like it to be true, I can answer and say yes, I did. But the truth is...
Did you wear the Scottish flag on your helmet today?
I did. I had a Superman cape, a Scottish helmet. I had 5 members of my extended family on the scooter with me.
Okay, DC, what happens in Formula One racing is somebody starts winning, rules are changed, someone else starts winning. Why is this happening? Why can't we just keep the rules consistent? And because rules don't change in cricket or football
Yeah.
for a winner.
Yeah, it's a very good question. The technology is the aspect of why they change. Because if you didn't cap the size of the wings, or you didn't cap certain aspects of the performance, then they would just become so fast because of new developments that the cars would almost be too fast for the track. So that's one of the reasons why the FIA keep changing things, and also to try and reduce an advantage that one team may have over another by, if it's a technology that everyone else will then apply. So rather than everyone having to spend £10 million or whatever it is developing that particular new aerodynamic aid, they ban it, and then if they find another way to try and find an advantage.
There's nothing to do with Red Bull winning so many championships.
I think if you look at the history of the sport, as sensitive as Red Bull may be to regulation change, it's happened through the history of the sport. With Active Ride, when Williams had a huge advantage, they banned Active Ride. Whether it was the period when McLaren were winning 15 out of 16 races, they changed regulations for going forward. So it's always happened.
So I'm going to ask you, we're going to have 3 questions next. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, why can't a normal driver who loves driving road cars drive a Formula One car? I mean, yes, you cannot race it, but do you believe it's easy to drive a Formula One car and experience it?
Yeah, driving a Formula One car is not a difficult thing to do. It's
Right.
just a car. It's got a throttle and a brake and it's got gears. But what I think a lot of people don't appreciate is how uncomfortable it is to drive a Grand Prix car. It's very raw. It's very power, brake,
Right.
start, stop. It's not sophisticated. It's performance. So even if you take a high performance road car like a Ferrari or whatever car you mentioned, they're sanitized to a certain level with traction control and brake steer and air conditioning and leather seats, the acoustic tests to make it a comfortable proposition for someone to buy. Of course they're fast, and of course they go around Nürburgring and whatever time they go
Right.
around. But they're so slow in comparison to a Formula One car,
Correct.
or even a Formula 3 car,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
a
of course.
BMW, a Formula BMW.
Yes.
Because you're not comparing apples with apples. You're comparing a road car with a racing car, and racing cars are just built for speed and nothing else.
So these days, people are struggling to get a single Formula One car to the circuit, and Red Bull has 2 teams, and here as well, you've bought the Kinky Kali and the Abbey, as in the RB7 and the RB8 here. You have 2 cars over here. So when you have to choose between the 2 girls, which one do you actually decide to have?
Well, neither of the cars I race, so for me it's a pleasure to have a brief affair with either of them while I'm here in India and have a little bit of fun. But the technology moved forward from when I stopped in 2008.
Okay, so the last question, and this is very crucial for us. So we're a podcast which is about Formula One, all about passion. There's no money, and you get paid to talk Formula One. What do we need to do to get to your level apart from winning 13 Grand Prix?
I have no formal qualifications for broadcasting whatsoever. So I think you can assume from that the only reason I'm there is because I won 13 Grand Prix.
Damn it, we'll never make it.
I don't think we can fit in any of the Kali's or the Abbeys.
You've got too big a shoulders, I think.
That's sweet.
Yeah, see,
Is the guy
your listeners can't see how big your shoulders are, but yeah, you wouldn't fit in the car.
Well, this was followed by the V8 Fire Up. We got to hear the engine, and you're going to hear it too. Raj, should we do the honors?
Yes, let's do the honors. I'm going to press the buttons like the Renault F1 team engineer was doing. He had something. It was like an on and off button which constantly was helping rev the engine up whenever he wanted at will.
My Nintendo joystick has more buttons.
But I really would love to hear one of those engineers play either the Jana Gana Mana or something. They can actually tune the engines
Yes,
to do
they
that.
do.
But well, for now, let's just hear the Fire Up.
Okay, so come this Sunday in the morning, we actually went to the Necklace Road where, the Formula One show run happened. It was also accompanied by this very, very talented Lithuanian stunt bike champion. His name is Aras, and he really scorched the track. He was brilliant.
He was awesome. I honestly am never a fan of two wheels.
Yes.
But when I saw him do things that he did on two wheels, I was amazed. Like, I have Instagram videos which I'm going to upload on our Facebook and Google Plus pages.
Mm-hmm.
I think for over a minute and a half, he was only on one wheel. I don't even know what it takes to do that.
My dad would be really surprised. He doesn't know how to drive a bike. The man doesn't know how to drive on a straight line.
but I heard one of the female fans out there asking, what is the kind of training you need to do to be a two-wheeler stunt biking champion?
Yes, and we don't know that, but we do know that he's really awesome. We have a lot of videos and pictures lined up that you will see in due course of time. And we're just trying to get everything together and make a collage.
There's just so much content. It's an overload, Rishi.
Yeah, let's not forget there were many dignitaries over there. I got to host the event, and whilst doing that, I saw David actually, give the signal for the firing up of the engine, go for the donuts, go for the burnouts, and something I saw, Kunal, that I wasn't able to actually understand is he was locking up the brakes and tires on purpose to create some
smoke, obviously.
Yeah,
Pirellis were smoking, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have probably used his brake bias to adjust a front bias so that, his rear wheels spin out even more so. But apart from the technicals, Rishi, what really had me interested is that I didn't see a single spot vacant. People were almost waiting to jump over the barricades to get closer to the action.
But isn't that fantastic? And we've asked this question to David. And if Formula One fans are so enthusiastic about Formula One, why is Formula One not there in our country?
Well, for absolutely different reasons, which we've spoken about. But to me, there is a lot that Formula One can learn from Red Bull when it comes to marketing the sport. We had more people watching David and Aras today than there were in the last edition of the Indian Grand Prix. Yeah, which makes me then believe that, if one car could attract so many people, and a car literally just doing donuts for that matter. Okay, imagine if there were 17 more cars on the track, crackling their engines and trying to get to the next corner before the other. Wouldn't that be more fun?
Well, I imagine why, and the question remains unanswered. But I had a great time, and I took a lot of selfies. And Kunal's taken a lot of selfies, and there are a lot of listeners that came and took selfies with us.
Yes, that was extremely interesting. I bumped into at least 15 people while you were hosting, Rishi. And in marketing terms, I did some bit of consumer emotion to understand. There were people who came from Indore. There was somebody who I met. There were actually two people who came from Bangalore.
One from Nagpur.
One of them was from Nagpur. Somebody from Bombay who you also met. Okay. And I'm going to play a few fan bites to let people know, how the experience on ground was. But I'll tell you, I was looking for that one fan who I couldn't find, who came here just to see the entertainment. and then turn around and say, hey, you know what? I loved it today. I don't really watch Formula One, but I will tune into the Chinese Grand Prix this weekend. I know I'm asking for too much. So here's me with a quick bite of 3 fans I met on ground.
I'm here with Latesh, who's come here all the way from Bangalore. He's one of our earliest listeners of the Inside Line Formula One podcast. His inputs to the awards have been invaluable. What's up, Latesh? How are you today?
I'm absolutely eclectic today, and after seeing the Red Bull Racing RB7 in action, I've got wings to fly now.
So, where are you originally from, Latesh?
I'm originally born and based in Korba, Chhattisgarh, then moved to and studied in Nagpur, Maharashtra. Then, specifically, as both the international circuit got laid up, my interest moved to Delhi. I relocated to Delhi, settled up with a job over there, and as Indian Grand Prix said bye to the Formula One fraternity, I left Delhi and moved to Bangalore.
So, you've come all the way from Bangalore to Hyderabad to see the run. Why would you do that?
Absolutely. Actually, I must say thank you, Kunal and Rishi. Because of your podcast, I came to know that Red Bull Showrun is in Hyderabad, and what's more, it's on Sunday, and I have finalized my weekend to be here and check the Red Bull cars in action.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Latesh. Okay, where are you guys from? Which city?
Yeah, Hyderabad.
Hyderabad, India. Okay, what are your names?
My name is Dev.
And
My
yours?
name is Arhan.
And how old are you guys?
I'm 10, he is 6.
6. So why are you guys here this morning?
Red Bull.
Red Bull. How about you?
Red Bull.
So what did you guys like about today's program?
Arash is biking.
And did you guys like David Coulthard as well?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you watch Formula One?
I love watching Formula 1.
Yeah. What's your favorite team?
Ferrari.
Ferrari. Okay. Yours?
Red Bull.
Red Bull. Okay. Lovely. Thank you guys so much.
A big thank you to our fans. Thank you very much. Keep listening.
All right, we're working very hard to get together everything we did over here. And in the last 3 podcasts, you've heard a lot of the Red Bull F1 show run. We're also trying to get together the weekly pre-Chinese Grand Prix podcast for you. We have a lot of videos coming up very soon. We have a lot of pictures coming up on our Facebook page. So keep liking, keep sharing, keep increasing the listenership of the Inside Line F1 podcast and the viewership, if I may say so.
Because it is the fans and the listeners that have been our power to getting here in Hyderabad today. We should actually bow down. I know they can't see us, but we absolutely should bow down to each one of them. It was absolute fun doing it, Rishi. We should do this for a living.
So I've been talking to Bernie about it. Thank you, Red Bull. Thank you, David. This was so much fun.
And thank you to Rishi as well. It was absolutely awesome doing this podcast with you as well.
Kunal, are you retiring?
We leave the retirement talk for David, trust me.
Guys, it was so much fun eating his donuts. And did that sound wrong?
No.